do is make some pike goo. I've been using this goo for as long as I can remember, a long time. It's a mixture of oils, a bit taken from the carp fishing scene, only I make it myself because I'm tight and I don't believe there's any predator goos on the market. I started using this, I can't remember, in the early days of Chew. I remember going to a PAC conference and on the Eddie Turner stand, which used to be fantastic, he was selling a product called, I called it pink mist, I think it was red mist. He had these tanks and you bought this this type goo, put it in there and it just turned it into a cloud. It looked absolutely fantastic. One of my friends purchased some of this. I thought it was a bit of a gimmick. I remember fishing Chew in the early days and I used to get more than my fair share of takes. I noticed that day that he definitely had more takes than me. And the only difference I could see was the goo. Anyway, I've sort of developed it a little bit over the years. I can't say 100% that the oils attract the fish. Well, I am 100% sure that they don't put them off. When I started doing this, I started putting it on baits that were a bit tired, that had been out there a while. Now I put it on all my baits. I put it on frozen baits and I use quite a lot. And this is how I go about making it. There's no hard and fast rules to making this. And I think I encourage people to make up their own recipes on this. This is just the way I do it, and it's also quite affordable. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this. Like and subscribe, and do let me know in the comments if you want me to do any more like this. The ingredients for the goo are as follows. I mean, I've done so many different recipes of this over the years. The one component that has been the same all this years is an Eddie Turner oil, which I'm going to keep to myself. Dynamite predator juice I used to use in all of my oils and caught several fish. I mean, I think I might have had 4 fish over 30 pounds now with this applied. The king crab, I picked that up at the PAC convention and I've seen so many big fish being caught on this. They're all very different, but the binding ingredient I use is a vegetable glycerol. Now you can buy that from Waitrose, cost you an arm and a leg, or you can get literally, you can probably buy 5 litres of that if you go online. It's used for baking. It's basically a carrier, and also 50% of what I use is going to be that, and it seems to hold the oils together and release them slower, and I think that could well be the key. Anyway, cheap as chips, and now I'll go about how I make it. Corn flour, you have to pre-mix that. I'll show you how to do that. The different oils, you can experiment with the quantities, what you want to use. I usually go about 50% vegetable glycerol, and then this is adjusted. If I do really well with one, this is quite new to me, this is new to me, I sort of play around. I might use more of it at the start of the season. Yeah, we'll just see how we go. Right, it's really cold out there. If it's not cold out there, you're making this, you shouldn't be making it. I store it in. This is like a, for glue or paint. You can probably get these on, I mean, that this like 15 years and years and years. Seen better days. Right. The glycerol is really quite thick. millilitres there. I'm going to make up quite a lot, but probably more than my pot can actually manage. It's not the end of the world, I'll just keep it. This is a tricky bit. This is, I used to use the Dynamite Predator juice, but I picked up some of this recently, and to be fair, I've had one fish over at a 33 on it, so I can't complain. Used quite a lot of that. Trouble is, it's quite expensive if you're using these sort of oils. King crab. Oh, that smells good. It's interesting. I've smelt all of these oils. Now, the Eddie Turner oil and the king crab have got a really quite pungent smell. But the holy mackerel is a bit more subtle, which I like. You don't want it, I mean, from the carp fishing thing, a lot of people over flavour baits. And this is what I think might be the secret ingredient. You can see the mix you got there. 200, there's a lot there. I personally don't think I need to make up any more. I've never really measured the formulas to doing this. Put a little bit more of the ET in because it's a proven catcher. And stirring this is very important. I mean, that is like a jelly now. It's not like an oil. I'll go through when I apply this. I paint it on. I mean, that is really thick. Look, you can't stir it enough. And if you're a real man, you'll go inside and use somebody's KitchenAid. I would use a slow pulse setting, but I am not brave enough to put this on YouTube that I've ever done that, and I can't. No, I wouldn't do that. No, never. You could leave it. You could leave this stirring. The longer you stir it, the better, because it takes a while to mix the glycerol and that. If you can see that, that is like it. I mean, you could use that without any of the corn flour. That would be absolutely fine. I mean, that is looking good. That is smelling good. That's the monster crab I can smell. The holy mackerel is lovely. I mean, they're all good. Yeah. The holy mackerel is a bit like the original ET Pink Mist. It's got a very powerful dye in it. Now, I used to think the dye worked, and it still might do. I'm sure Carp Anglers use a tracing dye, which I'm sure is 100% safe. They use it in drainage, so you put it in drains to find leaks, and it leaves a real cloud on the bottom. It looks good, but I'm not convinced that some stuff it does stain your clothing and that, and you have to be some of the waterproofs I wear are quite expensive. I used to be known in the early days of Cheerio having pink hands all the time. Right, now I'm going to add the corn flour. Just add it a bit at a time. This is thick. Unless you've got a pretty big pot, I would make a much smaller quantity than I've just made. I mean, look, it's actually changed the colour of this. But I want it thicker. I'm not going to use all of it. I mean, I like stuff that goes on like a paste. Oh yeah, that is looking good. It turns it. And you could use more corn flour. Look at the texture of that. You can always add more corn flour at a later date. The problem is the stirring. It's really important to stir this in. And you'll notice in your pot, you can't really use a hypodermic and inject this because you'll just clog up. What I use, I'll show you how I apply it. This syringe is, I think it's with nails. You can cut the tip back. I don't trust myself with a rusty hypodermic on the bank. You can't stir this enough. You really can't. You can see I've used, I mean, oh yeah, I could use more. The glycerol they use for baking, cheap as chips. But since I do it, I mean, I actually use a lot of this. It doesn't put the fish off, that I am sure of. Right. I'll fill up my pot. I really wouldn't do this in the house. Oh, it stains. That was perfect. That's filled my pot up. So I believe I made 200 millilitres, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Don't get this on your clothes. Right, that's how I make it. Now I'll show you how I put it on the baits. Do think about liking and subscribing. Well, the bait had been out there for about half an hour, 40 minutes, did nothing. Brought the bait in, gunked it up, put it back out, and I call that. Right, what happened there, that was my fourth fish in a week, over a metre, on the new Goo. Just so you know, I had 3 fish over a metre last weekend. I added as much corn flour to it again because it was a little bit thin, and the monster crab definitely worked, so I topped it up with some more corn flour and more monster crab, and this mix is doing very, very well. And that fish I just caught, I'd had a bait out there for half an hour, nothing. I brought it in, gunked it up, put it back out, exactly the same spot, and it went within 5 minutes. So I'm going to give it another half an hour here, then move. Hello, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that wasn't too painful. That's how I make my Pike Goo pink. Yeah, apologise for calling glycerine glycerol. I think it's the same product. It's available in any supermarkets. It's for baking. I'm going to try and put a link in the description to the other products. As I said, I made it 8 days ago, and I've had 4 pike over a metre, all around about a metre, and so it definitely works. I adjust the mix each time I make it. I put more corn flour in that to make it a little bit thicker, and it definitely doesn't put fish off, and yeah, gives me confidence. I hope you enjoyed that. Do think about liking, subscribing. Muchas.